Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning. Boy, I haven't had much sleep at all. I've been up all night, obviously. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So I'm sorry that I didn't send it earlier, but it was hard day yesterday. So I'm
I
happy you are
saw.
there. And the sunshine is shining. In the morning is around 0 degrees Celsius. That's not the summer, but uh, it's nice weather.
So, what is it if it's 0 degrees Celsius? When
Uh,
what is Fahrenheit? What is the
Good question.
freezing?
Good question. I have all the time difficulties, but let me ask Google.
What's the freezing point of Celsius? Do you know?
Zero. Zero is the freezing point.
Okay, so then 32 is our freezing at
All
Fahrenheit.
right. So that's the morning temperature here in Prague.
It's 0, so it's 32. That's freezing here in the United
Yes.
States.
Yes.
Oh, burr. Okay.
All right. So let's start. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the next Industry 5.0 Power of Touch, where together with the members of my global family, we write on the back of language towards wasteless world, and we do it week by week every Wednesday by talking about one term, one word. And today it will be not word, but term. And this term is a mental block. So mental block is the term today. And I will start with you, Leslie. I will switch my camera off. Leslie, what if you hear the term mental block, what came first to your mind, please?
It's a label that we've made up
Mm-hmm.
to give meaning to things. So, human beings, we have to, it seems like, well, we have to make meaning out of everything. So, we're not happy in confusion. We like clarity, even though we spend most of our time in confusion. But so a mental block is an excuse, a label. It's a made up term when there's something else going on um, internally, if you will, emotionally, that we attribute though that word or those two words, mental block, to not address, or we may not be aware that we're doing it, but the payoff for using that excuse, which is mental block, for not writing, if you will, or not continuing with your work, it's really hiding or a lack of awareness. So there really is no such thing. But if we say it enough and we begin to believe it, then it will be true for us. So while it's made up to cover this not wanting to do something for another reason, a deeper reason, um, then it's really not a real thing until we make it real. And we do that through repetition. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Leslie. Charito, welcome here in the evening of Philippines time. And the same question for you, of course. When you hear the term the mental block, what came first to your mind, please?
Good evening, everyone. Um, when you say mental block, I smiled a while ago because that usually comes to me whenever I'm in this room. When I suddenly stop because I forget what to say. I forget what to say. The words are floating somewhere else. It's like a temporary wall, a temporary barrier to thinking. Like I'm thinking of something, trying to recall the past, my experiences, and to put it into words. But because I have a limited number of English words, so I should say I'm not a native of America or English speaking people, So, mental block usually comes to me when I stop suddenly because the thoughts are not so well arranged. And so, out of nowhere, I try to pick up that word which I would like to say. But then that's a temporary, I think it's, shall I say, it's something psychological. It's a wall that suddenly comes up between you, within the thought, within the memory that you have in the past, because most of the things that we do here and we answer, even the words are. They are stuck knowledge. Stuck knowledge. We don't live it every day, but suddenly it comes into reality because you thought about it and you said we'd like to discuss about it. So mental block is a temporary state of, shall I say, being, state of something that you do, like thinking, like doing something, performing something. Then you stop because you don't know what's the next. So it's like hanging. But I think there are many things to say about mental block, but as of this moment, that's all I could say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Back to you,
much.
Michael.
Thank you very much, Charito. Dr. Ash, the same question for you. So, when you heard that the term will be the mental block, what came first to your mind, please?
Thank you, Michael, and good afternoon, everyone. Um, Let me first talk about. I think both of you all, Charito and Leslie, have explained it very well. But let me go into the cause of a mental block first. And that is normally due to some kind of anxiety. When the brain is overwhelmed with worry, such as a fear of some kind of a failure or perfectionism. Now, I'm a perfectionist myself, and it happens very often to me that I actually suffer from mental blocks because I need to focus on a problem, and therefore, a mental block for me actually shifts focus away from problem solving to self doubt. I'm always concerned about what other people might think about me, and therefore, sometimes I might be concentrating on something else, whereas I have to actually concentrate on a problem that besets my mind. So it is basically a temporary barrier in thinking that prevents anyone from accessing ideas, memories, or skills that one normally does have or possess. So, obviously, when somebody is under pressure, like for example, if you are teaching a child or some students in a classroom or training some young executives, um, and you speak very harshly to them, well, you put them under pressure. So that is why whenever I walk into a training area or a classroom or whatever it is, I try and let people relax by putting a smiling face on the whiteboard, as I've said very often, you know, so that they can concentrate on that first, and then it's a welcoming smile on my face also. And therefore, they should drain away their stress or fatigue. Now, students normally encounter it during exams. That is when you're sitting for the exam and something else besets your mind, and therefore, whatever you had studied might be blocked completely. So, um, it happens also during creative work when even we as professionals have to make important decisions, and suddenly we can't concentrate on what we have to decide upon. So, therefore, um, we may possess the knowledge or the ability, but the mind seems to freeze, if I can put it that way, making it even, as though a simple task might feel very difficult. So it's very often that uh, I might be um, thinking of switching off the ignition of my car, for example, and I've left the headlights on. I switched off the car without thinking that I need to switch off the headlights. I'm concentrating on something else. And I switch off the engine of my car. And when I get out, luckily my car has a buzzer. So the previous models didn't have buzzers. And therefore, like these days, there are warning signals or signs to help us along our path everywhere, where some kind of a sound goes off and warns us that we're doing something wrong. So mental blocks can also stem from a lack of motivation or interest when a task feels meaningless or overly, should I say, repetitive. The brain resists engagement. In other cases, information overload can clutter thinking, making it difficult to organize thought clearly. So we have to actually concentrate basically in order to avoid a mental block on the task at hand. Now, obviously, a mental block requires a change in our approach. Rather than forcing productivity, we need to take short breaks. And that's what I've tuned into now, because I just break away from a certain task that I might be doing, take a short break, 2 minutes walk up and down the corridor or something of that sort, and then come back and engage myself again in that kind of uh, problem that I was already involved in as such. So it's like um, a writer has what we call a block, and they call it actually writer's block. So that is when the mental block has taken place uh, in the brain as such. And so we've got to learn how to relax, like I've just mentioned. Um and even when if you're sitting and you don't want to walk out of your booth, if you are in a chat center or something of that sort, well then I recommend people to take deep breaths, like I mentioned to Leslie the other day, and like somehow reduce anxiety, because it happens very often that quite a few of us lose our focus, um, and therefore, like, obviously we have to take time off. So sometimes simply talking through a problem or writing down your thoughts even can organize ideas and restore the flow. So that is all that I wanted to say, Michael. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ash. It's quite interesting. The term introduced Jane, but she introduced it in Czech. She does not speak any English. And it was, we checked the translation for me to be sure. And usually, one English words, we have many Czech similar words. But for this one, it was very opposite. So I entered the Czech word překážka, and it came about 20 different terms. And one of the term was the mind block, but translated into Czech in, I will say, in a slightly different matter that you explain, because it is translated as a block for learning something new. And this is quite interesting, because what you mentioned sounds to me more that it is in English more than block in remembering things and so on. But in Czech, we understand, or it is translated into Czech as a block in learning. And this made me curious. Leslie, can you not think, means can you switch thinking off and be in this state for some time?
Ask that question again, please.
If you can switch thinking off, so means to have the brain completely empty for some time, like it is done in meditation times and so on. Can you do that? Because many people can't.
It's a practice. To be able to do this is a practice, um, as is meditation, as is visualization. It is a practice of focus. And Dr. Ash alluded a couple of times to the word focus. In my experience over the last 20 years working with clients, the biggest limitation that has developed is lack of concentration and focus. And I suspect that it is the result of the sensory overload that we are experiencing and have for at least 10 years. Now, we know these things embed in our subconscious mind as beliefs. I have a mental block. I can't write anymore. We learn through repetition, and our beliefs occur through repetition in spaced intervals over time, whether true or not. What we think ultimately, and how often we think it, and the way we feel while we're thinking it creates our beliefs. And this is where our six basic fears come from, which Dr. Ash alluded to when we want to look good or we don't want to be embarrassed. That's the fear of criticism or judgment. So, one thing to be clear about is that, which I mentioned in the chat, mind and brain are not the same. And conventional training has excluded the work I've been doing for 25 years. And the work in the mind has been available longer than, for example, as Carl Jung and modern psychology. The deficit, though, for patients and clients of therapists and psychologists is they have no clue how the mind works. Because no one taught them, therefore they do not know the practical application for making changes in what we think. Now, there is no doubt that what we think sets up the chemical reaction in the brain for changes in the brain. Also, what we think changes our physiology and our nervous system. So you can imagine that therapists and psychologists and people in neuro whatever, when they come out of university, there is no mind to them. They collapse together brain, which is an organ, and mind, which is a cellular activity. So research has proven that what we think is actually an activity that the vibration of the thought with repetition is either high or low. High is love and kindness, low is negativity. This vibration transfers into every cell in our body, thereby making changes there. It can be on purpose or by default. We can make changes in the way we feel, such as when Dr. Ash mentioned meditation. We instruct ourselves. We think, I'm going to take a walk. I'm going to meditate. The brain has nothing to do with it at all. It is all what you think. It's the source. And over 5,000 years, all recorded works, the Bhagavad Gita, the New Testament, the Old Testament, the Quran, the all. Well, we've been recording for some 5,000 years. They all the greats, the great prophets, the great religious leaders, all say this one thing, which we are so unfocused and really so limited in our education. What we think, we become. That what you focus on thinking will be your results. So if you believe that you have a mental block, you're going to have a mental block. And both Dr. Ash and Torito have explained it very well, what it feels like. Notice that it's what it feels like. The brain doesn't feel, right? The body does through the instruction of the mind. So that's why we do our best to think about love and kindness and goodness rather than the negativity. Now, don't get me wrong, both are have to be present. But this is the work that I've been doing for years, and I am so frustrated that therapists cannot really treat clients because there is no practical application. Well, the brain does this and the brain does this. Yet it is what we think, the steps to make changes in our body and to set up that chemical reaction in the brain for neuroplasticity to create new neural pathways is all focused and emanates with what we're thinking. So if you don't know this, then, and you're a therapist, as example, and you want to help someone begin to change a belief or to get to the bottom of something, if you don't bring in the thoughts, then there is no practical application. You're just telling people, well, your brain is doing this and it's creating serotonin, and serotonin makes you feel this way, or your body is lagging. Well, what are you thinking about? So, to answer your question, it's a practice to be able to, so you either have conscious thoughts or automatic reactions. Those are the two possibilities at any given moment to consciously think through, well, really, do I have a mental block or not? What is this? Where did it emanate from? What can I do? Can I take a walk? Or the dominant reaction, which is not thinking, comes from our beliefs based on our fears. Those are stronger. Only one survives. So the practice with the new word, if you will, metacognition, is the ability to watch yourself think, to remain objective, notice that it's happening. This is what a psychologist, must tell a client so that they can do something about it, not just theorize about it. That when you notice this, you then have a choice to allow it to prevail, this reaction, which isn't thinking, it's a negative, low vibration primarily. Then you either can allow that to remain intentionally. You're not, this is where choice comes in. Or you can choose one of your points of view, or even deeper and more practiced. We all have numerous points of view. We can create context um, for different groups of people. So I can teach, Dr. Ash can teach, Charito can teach also, right? Both the same, they're same concepts, but massage and reshape the data and the examples to land in the listening of the audience. And what I mean by that is that I could teach fourth graders, I could teach physicians, I could teach engineers or plumbers my work, and I can change the context on the fly, not change the concepts, but change the context of the examples I give so that it relates to them. So this is I know I went around, I've taken up a lot of time and I'm sorry, but this is my area of expertise. I can do it. No one ever reaches it, Michael, completely because we're not perfect. It is an aspiration to be able to control the reaction and then choose to be thoughtful. Thank you. And sorry, you guys, for going on and on.
Leslie, dear, please do not apologize because it was very valuable. Charito, based on what Leslie said and what you said and Dr. Dr. Ash. I'm just now wondering, we are speaking about a personal block, mental block. But my question to you, do you think that there can be a mental block of society or of a company or organization? Do you think something like that exists?
Wow. That is something, Michael. You know, first and foremost, I would like to say that Leslie and Dr. Ash, and even you, Michael, you are all experts in your fields. So while I was listening, I was sort of drowning in the the intellect that you have. You know, like I'm trying to dig deeper, understand. I'm more on the worldly, like the real estate, houses, lots, and everything. So I can teach also these things, but in my own way, it's my expertise to quote unquote. Now, going to this subject, which is mental block, that is a very, very huge thing for me. You say when for me, mental block is not I may not understand so much what Leslie was trying to say, but at least I have an idea of it, and also Dr. Ash, they can. No, I would like it would serve me better if I will listen to them more in the rooms or wherever. But you see, Michael, mental block for me is a temporary thing. It's like this. I need to do something like in the exam before I pass the exams in college and high school, and you have to do a lot of studying. You know, my tendency is if I don't like the subject, but my favorite in college was, ironically, was English and math. I sort of wait until the 11th time. I did crumbing, so I cram, and the next day I would try to remember those things. That's why I had a mental block sometimes because I wasn't able to memorize everything there. I may have something in my mind, but not so much with the subjects that I love because I studied from the beginning to the end. So that's one part of mental block for me when my brain stops to pick up because I believe that the mind holds all the knowledge that we have, the inputs. And our minds are rooms, millions of rooms, and everything is placed there. But when those things that you put there, and I also consider our minds as connected to the heart. If you love that subject, wherever rooms the knowledge you have in your brains are placed, when you think about it, this will come up because you love it. It's the direct connection. But if you don't like it that much, like in my example, in my exams, you try to open doors. You have to open. Where is it? What is it? Then the block is there. And not all the time, though. So those are mental blocks for me. Now, if we go to the realities of time, even in companies or I would say this is my own opinion, even in real estate. There are laws and which are for the betterment of the people, the majority, and there are laws which really give more to the government itself, to the ones, the management, not the people themselves, right? So sometimes I believe that the mental block that happens there is when the government, who are the powers that be, forget deliberately to put into focus, to put into perspective something which is good for humanity. So that is the mental block there. It would say it's temporary, but I would say it's not also mental block because it is willed. It is not just forgotten. There is a desire to miss on it, to work after it, to jump over it. If you follow what I say. So in the government or even in the offices, which I have to be honest, of course, the first, why do you go into business? Because of earnings, income, right? That is the number one priority. It would be dishonest if you say I'll go into business to help other people. No, of course not. That only comes second. Second to helping your constituents, your employees. And I don't think that also comes into reality. So when you say there's a mental block in all these things, it's in the formulation of policies Another purpose is the vision and mission, which includes everything. Nothing is being left out. Not the people, not the government, not even God, the religious part of it. And that's the block, that's the mental block, I would say, quote unquote, whatever you think about it. But that is a vacuum in the management of things in this world, from the government to the companies, the big ones, even politicians. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, this is my own opinion. In this world, number one is always the number one priority, the self-preservation. Whether you're a company, you're a politician, you're a government, you are the powers at the top of wherever. So I would say that is the mental block for me. If I get your question right, Michael, back to you.
Thank you very much, Charito. And you get it. But I will continue with you, Dr. Ash, because peace means a lot for you. And do you think that the existence of war is the result of mental block in some way?
Oh, yes, I certainly do think, and I agree with your statement completely. See, like the existence of mind block actually exists in leaders of today, where they are concentrating on something else, and psychologically, they seem to scar the people that they are governing. And the result is that that's where we are up against a wall, should we say, these days. And it's difficult to cope because, as you know, that we founded the this peace movement by the foundation of uh, world peace. So you have to move individuals and through individual societies um, towards, should we say, cognitive barriers that are preventing the people from processing trauma that they are already into. We've got to get them to move forward, and we've got to make people imagine a peaceful future. Now, yesterday, for example, I was just watching King Charles, and I believe in body language, or sign language, as we say sometimes. Um, when people move their hands in a certain manner, the facial expressions, the lines on their faces that suddenly come up, you can understand exactly what the feelings of people are. Now, during war, constant fear, loss, and uncertainty actually overwhelms the human mind. So, to cope, people may suppress memories or detach themselves from reality. While this defense mechanism helps them survive in the moment, it often results in long term consequences such as anxiety, depression, and post traumatic stress. These conditions can make it difficult for individuals to trust others, make decisions, or engage in normal daily activities. Now, I'd like to go on further. I think that Desley and Charito have given excellent explanations so far. And I think that Jane has conjured up a very nice set of words when we talk about mental blocks. It's not one word, but it's two words as such. And therefore, I believe it's extremely important today to understand our peace efforts very carefully. Um, I look at everything from a psychological point of view, and I believe that all what is happening today is because of COVID. You see, COVID by itself, there are question marks as to whether there was actually a special flu that hit people from China, through China, or was it a biological warfare? So you see, like we all, as we carry out deep studies, we need to research more into everything to be able to understand the world as it happens today. Um, like the assassination attempt on President Trump. There are question marks there. Now, Charles, I think I was listening to his speech when we're talking about peace. I was listening to his speech to the Congress, and I gave him 100% full marks. The way he said, we have to do our duty by democracy, by actually focusing on what is at hand. And for example, the United Nations or NATO or whatever it is, they cannot act because of the actions of others. And therefore, we have to focus, we have to learn to focus on the task at hand. I think it was beautifully explained, even though the monarch is not supposed to interfere in politics as such, but he can certainly give an explanation for a better understanding. And that is where I gave him the full marks. And I think sometimes you don't have to cut people off or be rude to them, but just give your own explanation very gently so that people can understand exactly what you're about. And that is what backdoor diplomacy is all about, what we are doing in Pakistan these days through our think tanks and actually influencing the world very surprisingly. Um, Big countries like the United States and China and Russia are involved, and a small country like Iran. So, a question of mediation uh, between all these countries is a very difficult task, I assure you, because we have to understand the culture. Now, Leslie had brought out the factor of religion, and that's where I'd like to just put in my two bits and say that, frankly speaking, I don't know what all these wars are about because all religions preach the same thing, and that is that all of us have to be ethically correct. We must distinguish between right and wrong. And so, what are we fighting about? Christians and Jews and Muslims and this and that and Hindus and Sikhs and Buddhism or whatever you might have, they all had the same code of conduct. So let's all be human beings and think about peace in that manner. That is what I keep telling them all the time. And let's not get bound down into unrealistic situations which actually create the mind block. Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asian. Thank you all because we have 1.5 minutes left. The last question why I asked about the society and the mental block was I just have recently a workshop for company members. The company merged with other company and they bought the company because they are good in innovations. But at the end, it showed up that the new owner bought them to innovate and forbid them to innovate at the same time. So it looks like the mental block was on a level of a company. And in societies, we see the same. So, because there is a last minute left, I would like to thank you all because it was a very insightful session once again. And I'm happy that we have Leslie, Dr. Ash, and Cherito here to combine our knowledge and to put it all together. And I would like to wish you have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, be free, be human, and don't let the mental block you in the work which you are doing. Thanks a lot and see you next week again. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. See you
Bye
all.
bye, Leslie and
Thank
Dr.
you.
Ash.
Bye.
Bye, Charito.